Well, hello guys. We're in the Brooklyn Navy Yard. We're checking out some Moustache electric bikes, and what we've got here is the Friday 27. A Friday line is more of a commuter-oriented bike versus the SEMD, which stands for kind of Saturday. This is a bit more of a trekking cross-country or like an on-road cross-country. You can see the tires down here are a little bit more aggressive, knobby, compared to the Schwalbe Super Moto-X over here that are a bit smoother, a bit more efficient. And then the drivetrain on this, it's actually Shimano SLX 11-speed, very nice. It's got the Shadow Plus clutch, tightens up the chain, awesome chain cover, and it's connected to this Bosch Performance Line Cruise versus Bosch Performance Line CX over here. The CX offers a little bit more torque. That's kind of the mountain bike type motor. Versus the Cruise might be a little bit more efficient. Still very, very capable, offering up to 63 Newton meters of peak torque. I really like this bike because it's comfortable, it's stable, it's got those bigger tires available in 3 sizes, 41, 47, or 53. We're looking at the medium right here, so that's the 47. They did a great job with one of the things I always call out. It got the bottle cage bosses right there on the seat tube, and behind the seat tube right there, look at that. So there's 2. I mean, you could potentially put a bottle cage or maybe a folding lock. I see those ABUS locks quite frequently, and they've got a built-in AXA Solid Plus. This is a frame lock or cafe lock. There's this little silver bar that goes through and blocks your spokes. It's key to the battery, and the battery is really well hidden in that down tube. So if we slide this plastic cover a little bit and then angle it out, I always have trouble with this. There we go. It's nice that it doesn't come flying off. You know, we got the Power Pack 500 right there, so it's using the latest and greatest, but it's designed in such a way that it's more concealed than some of the older e-bikes that I saw that use like the Power Pack 400. So there we go, we just cover it back up again. You can charge that on or off the frame, which is really nice. The Power Pack 500 weighs about 5.8 pounds. I've got the key slot right here, and then the charging port right here with these nice rubber covers. And you can see down here again, there's the casing, Bosch Performance Line Cruise versus the CX. Love the pedals, VP, a little bit bigger, great traction, great power transfer. When you're pedaling, they aren't plastic, you're not gonna slip off as easily. Also the kickstand, I like that it's positioned out of the way back here. Kicks right up, pressure, pretty high quality, adjustable length on that. Something I think about when I'm commuting around the city. I don't want my bike to, you know, fall over, and I also don't want the kickstand right down there at the bottom bracket to get in the way, that kind of thing. So again, over here you can see the Solid Plus frame lock. This is the knob that would activate the little bar. Interesting brake setup. So we've got Shimano hydraulic disc, 160 millimeter rotor in the rear, 180 up front with a quick release on both. And the front has a thru-axle, 15 millimeter thru-axle, so a little bit stiffer, burlier, great power transfer. Again, you're not gonna get that like flexy feel. This does have a limited top speed, 20 miles per hour. It's class 1, regular electric bike, gonna be a little bit more usable on different trails, like especially in the case of the SEMD over there, where you might actually transition onto a trail for part of your ride, whereas this one's a little bit more city oriented. I like the light setup here as well. We got the Supernova E3 V6S, 165 lumens, and it's mounted up high and it's unsprung, okay? Versus if we go back over here to the SEMD, it's mounted on that bridge of the suspension fork. So that part might be going up and down, whereas everything up here is suspended, that's not suspended. So that's one of the little changes I noticed between the two, or the differences. Great fenders on both, aluminum alloy. These are tubular, so it's not just one layer of aluminum, there's 2, and it's a little bit stronger, and it got these plastic caps at the end. Integrated rear light as well. This is the Spinninga Pixio. Integrated meaning it runs off of that primary battery pack. You don't have to worry about taking the lights off when you stop. You don't have to worry about charging them, turning them on and off. It's all done with the Intuvia display panel up here. And I just love the swept back handlebars, the ergonomic grips, and then comfort. We've got like about 30 millimeters of travel on this 27.2 millimeter seat post with that suspension, right? Okay, and we got the Brooks saddle. These break in nicely. It's a leather saddle. At first it can feel a little bit hard, but over time these become very comfortable. It sort of molds to your body. And then that suspension, the bigger tires, these are 27.5 by 2.4. So a lot of, you know, road tires or city tires are like 2.125, 2.2, 2.4, a little bit fatter. One thing I didn't notice is, there's no reflective sidewall stripe on these, unfortunately. So you're, coming back to visibility, I like that you have the lights because this is a bit of a darker bike. And if you're riding around the city at night, you just want to be seen. It'd be nice if this headlight had some, cutouts on the side so you could be seen from the side. They call it gunmetal. That's the color. And it looks great, and all the cables and everything blend in nicely. The suspension fork, the fenders, everything. It's not quite as bright and colorful. Even then the SEMD over there, that one's also like a dark gray. It's just, this one's a little bit more brown. Something I think about. Here are the brake levers. So we were talking about the brakes before, 180 up front, 160 in the rear. These are 2-finger levers. They offer adjustable reach. So if you get that smaller frame size, the 41, maybe you have smaller hands and you can bring them in a little bit. Perhaps you're wearing gloves. We've got the trigger shifters. It's got the 2-way high gear, so back or forward, and then a multi-shift on the big lever for lower gears. Oh, it's getting windy out here. I feel like I'm losing myself. Just having fun. The guys at the company, they do this like fun mustache thing. I don't know a lot about the company. It's kind of a European thing, but I'm here with the owner of Propel Bikes in Brooklyn, Chris Nolte. How's it going?
Hey, buddy. Happy Movember.
Yeah, that's right. Can you tell me a bit about Moustache and just, why you carry him? How'd this work out?
Yeah, so Moustache was started by 2 guys in France, Greg and Manu, and both of them are really passionate about bikes. They started the company in 2011, just e-bikes and just with Bosch, and they've seen a lot of success. And obviously, when you look at a bike like this, the design is really outstanding. I mean, and it's something that I've seen pretty much all the bikes that are out there, traveling to the different shows,
like Eurobike and stuff.
Going to Eurobike, going to Taiwan, going to all these different places, and this is something that I've always found with their bikes is really this attention to detail and putting that extra energy into the design and the overall quality of the bike. And we're very excited about it. And with the new developments this year, last year they had this hidden power technology in their mountain bikes. And now they've taken that to all their urban and all-road sort of bikes as well, which is pretty exciting.
I heard you say 2011, and when I was looking at the website, we were studying all the details a minute ago. It said like Saison 7, so it sounded like the 7th season of putting stuff out there.
That's right, yeah, because 2011, so this is effectively model year 2018.
Okay.
So this would be the 7th year, and yeah.
That's fantastic. And one of the other things I didn't quite hit on yet was just how nice this chain cover is, because we're out here, we're wearing pants, it's getting a little bit cooler. Sometimes you got to commute to work. If this is like your vehicle, basically, you want to be safe and clean. And the reflectivity was the one area I was griping a little bit that this doesn't have. Neither one of them actually have reflective sidewalls on the tires. Something you could add later, but I've actually seen stickers that you can buy and that you put on the frame to create like a big triangle to create your like a visual footprint from the side.
That's right.
What do you think? I mean, you saw all kinds of stuff, Chris. I noticed you have a white helmet. It's safety,
Yeah, I think having the lights is a big thing. I think the clothing that you wear is a big deal. I think having some details on the bike, or maybe if you put a bag in the rear, you can do something in a slightly brighter color.
Let's talk about that, because this is a really interesting rack, you guys. Like it's mounted directly to the fender versus having extra stays up here, but I think there's actually a piece of metal in the fender to reinforce it.
That's right, yeah. And actually the fenders in general, that's something that they make unique to themselves, and it's a double wall fender. It's something that's just really solid.
Yeah.
Because actually one of the things that they talk about is that they never really liked fenders because they're always flopping around and making noise and never really holding up that well. So that's one thing that's consistent across all their bikes that have fenders. They use a heavy-duty metal fender, partly for that reason.
And again, it's a $4,000 bike, but it used to be that you could, like, the cheapest Bosch bikes were $4,000. Right. So to get one with integrated fenders, the suspension, it's decent. It's a coil suspension, so we've got like a compression clicker that goes to lockout, and then we've got preload, and even I think this is, rebound adjust down here. So about 63 millimeters of travel. It's, we were looking at the full suspension I think it's the 7027 trail or whatever the other day, and you know, it had an air fork with longer travel, but this is pretty good for getting around the city. Maybe a little bit heavier, 57.5 pounds on this versus 56.3 on the other one. You know, a little bit heavier maybe because of the thru-axle, and I guess they both have the racks, they both have the fenders. Do you know what size that one was over there, Chris?
That's a medium as well.
That's a medium as well. Where else might the weight be on this one? You know, ergonomic grips, the Brooks saddle. They both have suspension seat posts.
Yeah, it's, I mean, it's possible it's a fork. Yeah, it's possible the fork. The tires probably weigh a little bit more. Also, the tires on here have a little bit more puncture protection.
Sure.
So little details like that could make a difference. While
we're up here, I wanted to, you know, get a close-up on that support for the front fender. Again, just really solid. See, I'm like wiggling the whole wheel just by the fender, and it's really not flexing. There's good clearance, but there's also good width on this. I think did you say it was like 65 millimeters on that fender width?
Right. Yep.
A little bit wider, so you shouldn't get splashed quite as much when you're riding around. And then one of my favorite things about this is, let's pretend that you rode to work or something, and it's really raining or something happens and you need to get it home, but you have a friend with a station wagon. It can be tough to get bikes in without taking the wheels off and stuff, but they have this special, maybe for parking, maybe for transporting. Can you show me? It's like this quick lock, is that what they call it?
Sure.
Look at this, so you slide up, this is on top of the headset, and then you turn the bar sideways. So see, now can you imagine, like, you can lay this down on its side in your car, or again on a bike rack, or in your office,
or in an apartment or something like that. Yeah, this is really making that profile a lot narrower. Or if you're hanging it up, which you can put more bikes next to each other, which is really nice as well.
That is so cool. I hadn't really seen this before. We spent some time, you know, setting up this bike this morning because it just got shipped here, and you made sure that was tight, because at first it was a little bit loose when it got here.
One of the details here, if you see this point here, this is something that allows this to tighten, because normally you just tighten the top cap here.
Yeah.
But you use this also just to kind of compress the headset.
Okay, and while we're up here, this is a tapered head tube, so you could potentially swap out the forks and have more choices, right? It's kind of mountain bike level stuff. The sweep on those handlebars brings you a little bit back up. You've got the front and sort of the mid suspension. I feel like we've covered a lot of the details here, except for you mentioned the bag as a possible way to increase your visual footprint. And this rack has the Ortlieb, what's it called?
So this is the QL3 system. So Ortlieb, historically, they've used a system called QL2, which basically hooks around here. So you have these hooks that kind of grab here.
Yeah. But
the trouble with that is when you have a bag and you want to remove it from the bike, you have these like big clips on the back of it.
Yeah, it's not smooth.
This allows it to be very smooth. And this is a native system that they put on here that when it's on the rack, it doesn't really stand out very much. There is the standard QL3 system. You can mount it to the rack, but then you have this big, bulky, weird-looking thing on the rack.
Yeah.
But they, you know, attention to detail and the design, they integrate this really nicely.
And you can remove these. So if you're someone who already has bags that's QL2.
That's right. Yeah, they come off pretty simply. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, and over here we got the Cellar Royale saddle and the cockpits. You know, the grips, these ones are ribbed. That's more the mountain bike style again. So just some of the stuff. The brakes on this one might be slightly different. Just interesting to me that they're you know, to me, I'd be looking at both of these bikes. I think they both offer a lot of crossover potential. The knobby tires is really the primary difference in terms of like handling on that one. And you know, again, maybe the fork.
Right, right, absolutely.
You know, a few $100 less. Okay, so coming back, I wanted to talk about the rims too. These are double wall reinforced, and they have those eyelets, reinforcement eyelets. So they're a little bit stronger, a little bit tougher if you are carrying a heavier load on this rear rack, going a little bit faster, further. Maybe you're using this for trekking and you put an extra battery in your bag, trunk bag, something like that. And then over here, we have the battery charger. I wanted to talk about this real quick. This is a 4 amp charger. It's gonna go a little bit faster. Most e-bike battery chargers are like 2 amps, and this is only 1.7 pounds. So coming back to the bag, maybe you have a trunk bag and some panniers. You could easily bring this along, extend your ride, top off when you're having lunch, something like that. Or maybe at work, you can take the battery off and take it with you. But I still love how concealed it is. It's so hidden in the frame, whereas a lot of times the batteries are bolted on, almost an afterthought. The bike just looks so good. Okay, we're all set up. Nice little stretch for sort of a scenario, commuting scenario, and I wanted to explain how the display works and everything, but first, how easy it is to take off. I love the Intuvia display. It's big, it's bright, it's right there in the center. It does pivot so you can reduce glare. It's even got it's kind of a micro USB female port on the side, so you could plug in your phone if you're using GPS or maybe an additional light system. This is just great, the Intuvia system. It's still easy to reach because we've got this remote button pad over here. Turning it on is very quick. See how quickly it came up? Got battery capacity at the top, 5 ticks. Over here on the right, we've got assist level. Right now it's an off, but there's also a little chart that would surge up and down based on how much power is being delivered. Speed in miles per hour. If you want to change that to kilometers per hour, you can hold reset and I to get into the menu. And then down here at the bottom, we've got all these different trip stats. So the I button over here or here, that's going to go through those trip stats. Right now we're at max speed, average speed, trip time, range. Range is really cool because when you arrow up or down using the plus and minus keys, that's going to tell you how far the bike can go using that assist level. So in Eco, that's the lowest level. It says 16 miles. Not bad, considering we only have like 1.5 bar of battery capacity. Tour, Sport, and then Turbo. Turbo is the highest power, 63 Newton meters of torque on this thing. You can really climb. It's very effective, but in turbo mode, it's going to be, pulling that energy a little bit quicker. I should mention, one of the neat things about the Bosch drive system is that the motor is measuring your rear wheel speed, pedal cadence, and pedal torque 1,000 times per second. And it has something called shift detection, which listens for the wave of your pedaling and then any changes in tension. So that's the derailleur shifting gears. And then it's designed to kind of ease out a little bit so that it's not pulling on the chain, creating a mashing situation. Okay, so that's really cool. Not very many systems out there have any sort of shift detection. Impulse is one of the other ones that does, but they don't have a lot in the United States. Their drive systems have only been on some of the older Kalkoff bikes, and most of them are going to Bosch now in the US. So anyway, I just wanted to mention that. The other thing that the Intuvia display panel has is an up and down arrow that appear right over here, and that's shift recommendation. So it's telling you, hey, shift up to get maximum efficiency from the motor. Well, the motor spins a tiny little chain ring. It's 17 tooth right down here, and it spins it at 2.5 revolutions for every crank arm revolution. So it's it's fast, and it's quick to start and stop. And it also grabs the chain a little bit better. Something that's unique to Bosch. One of the trade-offs is that there's a reduction gearbox in the motor there, and so when you're spinning, even if you're completely turned off, it's still having to turn that chain ring 2.5 times for every revolution. So there's a little bit of, a little bit of drag, a little bit of, I guess, just friction that happens there. Even a little bit of noise. You're not going to hear it in a city environment like this, but I just want to be clear about that. That's one of the trade-offs with Bosch, but it does allow for this really compact drivetrain right here. I also checked under this plastic chain cover, and I was looking for like a slap guard. I didn't see one, which was kind of like, you're never going to see that because of the chain cover, but it'd be nice to have a little sticker just to protect the paint. This is one of the early units, so maybe we'll see that on later ones. The other readouts here are odometer, trip distance, clock, and then we're back to max speed. Okay, so looks like this bike is relatively new. Let me go back to the odometer. I passed it. There it is, 1/2 mile. I've only ridden this thing 1/2 mile. And then up here, there's walk mode. That's kind of cool. You press it and then hold the plus button, and the bike will automatically push itself forward. That's really great if you're walking through a crowded space, or maybe you're pushing this up a hill or something. That's less likely, considering this is more of a commuting platform, but I still think it's neat, and it's great that it's not disabled here. I think that's about it. So I'm gonna keep it in turbo, and we're gonna do some pedaling. About time to shift gears, and I wanted to show it's very stable because of those bigger tires. Yeah, and I can feel the cut, the motor easing out when I'm shifting gears. So that shift detection is pretty cool. You can still mash if you're pushing hard and you're not shifting thoughtfully, so be careful, because that's a lot of strain to put on the chain and the sprockets and stuff, but overall I'd say it's pretty good. Okay guys, we're getting ready to head out. From here you should be able to see the chain going by. You won't be able to see that chain ring unfortunately, but maybe the silver down here. You can listen for it. You're connected to the seat post right above the suspension, so see if you can hear that, and then, you know, watch for shifting and everything. We do have the Shadow Plus clutch in the up position, which means the chain's going to be a little bit tighter, maybe not bouncing quite as much. And I'm in turbo, of course. Over that bump, and yeah, I hardly noticed the fenders. It's definitely staying quiet on this rough Brooklyn terrain. Some Armani. Now we're just gonna cruise around town a little bit. All set? I really appreciate about the Bosch motor system is it helps you up to 120 RPM. Some of the other motors stop at like 100, so I can spin a little bit faster, which is my preference. I have some knee sensitivity, and it works just fine. Just get some footage facing the rear, driving around. You might be able to see that suspension post working. It really adds a lot of comfort. It's something I always talk about, but very few bikes actually come with it. Have you ever been to Pedro's? No. Me neither. Looks fun though. Just super comfortable. The front suspension, and especially that suspension seat post, even though it's, you know, I don't know the brand, it's a little more basic, it feels really nice. Got a little flick bell. Of course, there is a little bit of whine at those higher RPMs and high power with the motor. That's just something that it's always been there with the Bosch system. The Performance Line is a little bit quieter than the CX. So if you want that smoother, slightly more efficient feel and a little bit lower volume on the motor, this bike might be the choice for you, the Friday 27. I think that's about it. I've had a lot of fun checking this bike out, getting a first look. Thanks for importing these, Chris. It's neat to see more cool stuff, in this case from France.
That's it.
A lot of the other bikes are kind of from Germany and stuff, so now we're rounding it out. We're getting a whole pantheon of
Yeah, the Europeans are bringing some pretty cool stuff. So I don't know. We gotta get some more stuff going here in the States, I guess.
Yeah, we're working on it. Well, anyway, for the full write-up on this, all the measurements of this frame, the rest of the details, I'll see you back at ElectricBikeReview.com. Have fun out there, especially when you're commuting. Ride safe. So I've just swapped on to the 7027 X Road. Chris is going to be on the Friday. Will you turn the lights on? There we go. We'll just get a feel for what that looks like third person. Very nice. And I think the white helmet's a good idea.